Hi, my name is Shakina. I am the writer, co-director, and guest star of Quantum Leap episode 112. Let them play.
Amazing. And I loved this episode. I watched it multiple times because I just couldn't get over it. And I would love if you could just summarize for our viewers what they can expect from seeing this.
Episode 112 of Quantum Leap stars Raymond Lee as Ben, who is a time traveler who leaps back into different people's lives in every episode and has to help them kind of solve a problem in order to move on. And in this particular episode, Ben leaps into the father of a trans kid who wants to play basketball on the girls' basketball team that Ben also coaches. So it's a father-daughter story. It's a family drama. It's a teen sports movie, all rolled up into one episode.
I would love to know just how you got involved in this. I mean, it seems like such an opportunity to come in and write and work on this, but what was the initial process of that?
Yeah, I've been working with the showrunner, Martin Garrow, since we worked together on Connecting, which was the last show I did on NBC. And we're also sort of developing like the Shakina show on the side. And we decided that in order for me to get some more experience, I should spend some time in a writer's room. So I went out on the job market. Basically, I wrote a pilot sample and interviewed for this writer's room and joined as a staff writer. And I pitched this episode at my interview. And so, I knew pretty much going into it that, because Quantum Leap has Mason Alexander Park, we have a trans actor as a series regular. The show was committed to addressing trans issues in the first season, which is huge. A lot of times, like special interest issues have to be like kicked back to, later seasons. But there was a commitment there and a willingness to take a big step to stand up for trans kids, not only from the writer's room and the producers of Quantum Leap, but from NBC and Universal. And so we did it.
I love what you said just about the show's, commitment to this. This is so important, especially now seeing this representation on our screens. But I want to know, there's so much that you can cover in an episode like this. There's so many things to include that you want audiences to really resonate with and see and learn from. So what was your game plan when you went into writing the episode?
My game plan was to write a fun, inspirational episode that felt like everybody's favorite inspirational teen sports movie and didn't feel like a TED Talk or a lecture or a political protest. I really wanted to capture the heart and soul of what it means to be a young trans person, just trying to live your life and express yourself. And I wanted to welcome our viewers into that experience in a way that felt almost familiar, because we all know the teen sports movie, and we've just never seen a teen sports movie with a trans kid at the center. And so, the great thing about Quantum Leap is that every episode we get a whole new genre to tackle. And so this was the episode that we got to make our 42-minute teen sports drama, and I'm just so happy with how it all came together, because we spoke constantly in the writer's room and at the studio and network level about how to make this the most accessible possible. We don't want to push anyone away from the episode, including people who might have some really trans antagonistic views. We want to welcome them in to have that change of heart and mind that Quantum Leap is so famous for.
Absolutely, yes. And it's beautiful. There's so many different aspects to it. And there's also the basketball part that you've hinted at. Why did you choose that sport? What was that like?
Actually, it's funny, originally it was a soccer story. And then we were like, that is way too hard to shoot in 8 days. So we reduced it to be a basketball story, which then became so much more personal to me because I never played soccer, but I did play basketball as a kid. And I quit because as all the boys around me started to go through puberty, and I was like, this is not me. I don't fit in here. And it was actually really moving to kind of get to reclaim basketball for myself while making this episode. I got to reclaim a lot of my youth for myself in a healing way while making this episode.
Speaking of that and just what this would mean to you growing up, seeing this kind of representation on screen, can you kind of speak a little bit about that and what you want this younger audience to see and learn?
Yeah, gosh, Because not a lot of people tell our history as trans people, we don't have a sense of continuity or legacy unless it's being given to us through the media. And so I feel really grateful to be able to contribute something that leaves some seeds behind for, younger trans people to kind of continue to explore their own roots. And whether that's, the queer youth movement of the 90s, which I was a part of. I mean, there's a moment in the episode where they pass a big rainbow Hands for Equality sign across the bleachers. And I actually made that sign when I was 16 years old, like throwing riots in my high school. And the art department recreated it for the episode, which is so powerful. And then you have Trace Lissette talking about, what it was like to leave home and join a ballroom house, and all these aspects of trans liberation and trans history that aren't part of the pop culture narrative yet, but they should be. And the more we get to tell these stories in mainstream media, like Quantum Leap is just, it's like an iconic cultural touchstone of a show. And for us to be dedicating a whole episode to not just trans kids in sports, but really trans liberation is what this episode is about. It's mind-blowing.
And you touched on this a little bit about working with Mason Alexander Park on this episode, already having this trans character. And then they also have a lot of beautiful moments about talking about their past. So how was it working with the actor and really developing their story?
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Mason and I got to talk about their story, my story, what we cared about, what we wanted trans kids to hear from us, what we wanted families of trans kids to hear from us. And it was just such a special moment to be on set with them and with Trace and with Josie Lynn and have these connections where I was there as the writer and director with them, and they were there as acting, interpreting my words, but bringing their life experience to create something that feels like universally accessible, but is so specific that really only the few of us there in that set of 200 people working on the show, only the few of us there really understood what that was about, and could bring it out so that the rest of the world could have access to it.
Absolutely. And I mean, there are so many beautiful scenes, and it's hard to choose, but did you have a favorite moment on set that really just resonated with you while you're seeing it come together?
Yeah, there is a scene between Josie Lynn Aguilera and Lucy Loken. The characters are Gia and Amanda sitting in the administration office while their parents meet with the principal. And I love that scene so much because it gets to this idea that kids have a different understanding of the world around them than their parents do. And sometimes adults create a lot of drama when kids can kind of work things out. So we have a lot to learn from them.
And I know that you also got to act in this scene, and I mean, this entire episode. So how was that, just kind of getting to join the world of Quantum Leap in an intimate way?
It was so wild and so fun. And I'm so grateful that I got to be as silly as I got to be, in a hard-hitting emotional episode. I believe that you need a little bit of comic relief. And I pitched to the team that let me be the clown. I could do it. And so there's just so many big swings in this episode, and me as Dottie is one more,
Absolutely. And then, again, this is such an amazing opportunity for you. I loved seeing it come together. I can't wait for audiences to see it. Do you have anything else coming up planned that people can look forward to?
We've already started working on season 2, so I can't say much more, but there are some great stories ahead for next season, some really wonderful adventures, and we're going to be continuing to bring you the diversity of viewpoint and representation that Quantum Leap is famous for.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about this episode, and congratulations on the show.
Thanks, Caitlin.